What is happening, beautiful people? It's your boy DJ Reminisce, and I'm back with another episode of Roots and Culture, where I talk about things that are important to me with my guests, and hopefully these things are important to you as well. And I'm actually very ecstatic about today. There's not enough words to describe how appreciative I am, and an honor this is going to be able to talk to not only a very good friend but a mentor of mine who is pivotal in the whole music culture, in, I would say, North America, to be honest with you. And I would have to say as far as stretch as India as well, because of his connections and what he's been able to do for us. And, I'm talking about none other than Mr. Kamal Sharma, who's a household name in the community, in the music culture, when it comes to, anything to do with, music, shows, gigs, events, selling music. I mean, this is huge right now for me to be able to introduce, Kamal, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Aman, for having me.
Yeah, I just want to dive right into it because, there's so much to talk about. I mean, you've got, decades of so much knowledge and, so many hits and wins, but like, I guess, and we'll get to those, but where did this kind of start from, this itch, this, getting into the scene and,
yeah,
doing shows?
you said it rightly.
Like you had your music store, it was a pivot. Like before you start, I just want to say this, like Kamal's Video Palace was a melting pot for people to meet in the culture to buy music. And I sincerely mean that. Like, he was the man you'd go to basically buy music. And I don't care if you came from Kamloops, you're coming from Toronto and you're visiting, he was the sort of go-to. So like, where did this itch come from this whole perspective of, shows and music? And I'm just curious.
So I think it goes back to the fact, that I was pretty young when my dad took us to Madrid, Spain. My dad was a diplomat. And
wow. Okay.
So this was his posting in Madrid, Spain. And this Madrid was during General Franco's time. So things were totally different than what they are now. Spain and Portugal were quite close as they were neighbors. And India had just taken over Goa. So there were massive protests in Portugal, and those were followed, of course, in Spain as well. So that is the kind of Spain I grew in. But I did my early schooling there in Madrid, and thereafter went back to India. And when I did reach India, which was, I think, in late 64 or early 1965, we did not speak either Hindi or English. So it was quite a challenge for my dad to get us into schools. Luckily, my uncle was the education secretary, and he got us an interview at Ludlow Castle School, which is in Delhi. And it was quite a reputed school in those days. And I got admission there only on the condition that my dad would hire tutors and make sure that we would start speaking Hindi and English very, very soon. And that is exactly what my dad did. And as it normally happens when you get the tutorials one after another, you forget what you came up with and you grab the other languages. So I started forgetting Spanish, which we were fluent in, but got it. Now, as far as the itch is concerned, now we used to live in Old Delhi, and it was behind Novelty Cinema. And Novelty Cinema was iconic. It was one of the oldest theaters, and this is right in Old Delhi. So it was a very, very busy theater in this sense, that it was very close to the Old Delhi railway station, as well as the interstate bus terminal. So people who would come or be getting those, either the train or the buses, would come to Novelty Cinema and watch movies. So Novelty Cinema was also quite famous for a movie running to at least 25 weeks or 50 weeks or even 100 weeks. Like Sholay ran there for more than 100 weeks, you can imagine. Sita or Gita was for 50 weeks. And some of Amitabh Bachchan's and Dharmendra films, they were very easy to get their silver jubilees there. When I started going to school, I used to walk. And I used to walk through Mori Gate, Kashmiri Gate, and go up to my school, which was further at Alipur Road. and right behind the lieutenant governor's home. And coming back, I would normally used to go to the novelty cinema. And it was because of my, you could say, interest in films. I would like to see what movies are running, what movies are going to come there, or what shows are going to be played in the morning shows, or so like so. And that got me into movies. And there was a neighbor of ours. Yeah, go ahead.
So what was the film that got you hooked? That you went going back? Like, what was it that kept you going back and back? This is what I'm curious.
Okay, so let me go back to Spain first.
Okay.
When we were there in Madrid, my dad used to bring some of the Indian movies which would come there and play those in our home projector. And we would call our neighborhood friends who were mostly Spanish and watch those. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, we did not speak Hindi or any other language. So we used to get our fun or thrills by whatever was happening. And the first movie which I saw at home was Phir Wahi Dil Laya Hoon. This was in 1964. This movie was released, and it was a huge, huge hit. In fact, I narrated the same scene where Rajendranath comes and sits on the cake there when Rajendranath had come to Vancouver, and he really laughed about it, and so did I. But that was my first movie. Now, coming back to what movie got me in, nothing in particular, to be honest, because we didn't really see too many movies. However, the interest was to see what movies are being played in the theater, or what movies are going to come. So I just would go there and watch those, the photographs and all that.
That's so funny you say that, because I used to come to your store just to see what's coming.
Exactly.
And to talk to you and be like, hey, Kamal, like, what's coming? Oh, you got to come next week because Hida is coming, or this. Oh man, that's so funny. So
this was one, and around the same time, my mom took us to a movie called Jis Desh Mein Ganga Behti Hai. It was a black and white film, Raj Kapoor's. But I was quite hooked by that film. This movie, the theme, the story, the songs, the dances, everything was interesting. But I had no idea about the hero of the film or the heroine of the film, nothing of that sort, who Raj Kapoor was or who Padmini, Pran, nothing of that sort. But the movie got us interested. And then a few other movies like Geet Gaya Patrone was playing at Novelty Cinema, and that also got me in. I still remember the songs Aiye Padhariye, but I had no idea about who Jitendra or Rajshri is. So, but the interest about the movies grew from there. And then, like I was mentioning, a neighbor of ours used to get the Screen newspaper, which was very popular in those days. It was a weekly, and it was all about movies. What movies are being released, what movies are being shown, what actors are doing what. So I used to read that. In fact, that was one thing which my dad taught us, that if you want to get your expertise in language, you must read and write, or start reading and writing. So that's what I started doing to get my knowledge about Hindi or English. I would converse with people in English or Hindi and read or write as much as I could. And that was another one which helped me getting interested into it. And then the third thing was Doordarshan, Delhi Doordarshan. In those days, it had just started, and it was in black and white. But even then, we were quite interested to see what movies are being played. Now, I'm talking about mid-60s or late 60s, when movies used to be shown in India, especially in Delhi, to be very clear. And half of the movie was shown on Saturday and half of the movie on Sundays. These were the days when there were no generators, nothing. And electricity was a huge problem. So sometimes we would see the half movie on Saturday, and for the next half, we are waiting on Sunday, and all of a sudden the electricity would go. And then we would curse the electricity or everything, but there was nothing, there's nothing you could do. So a lot of times these things happen. Anyhow, those things, and while going to school and coming back, I used to see the hoardings. And that was a very popular thing in Delhi, that they would put up huge hoardings of the upcoming films. And that also got me interested. But I guess the movie which got us all very excited, I would say that credit goes to Bobby. in 1972.
What a
Yes.
film. What a
Yes.
film.
Now that movie was released in 1972, and I think I was in my grade 8 or grade 9.
Okay.
The movie was initially shown at Faridabad, which is near Delhi and in Haryana, because there they used to show the movies before, and then it would come to Delhi. So a classmate of ours had gone to see the movie and was talking about the movie. And he was telling us this story because we obviously in Delhi were not able to see the movie. And he was telling us things about Dimple Kapadia and Rishi Kapoor and the music and all that. And obviously we were at such young adolescent age, where anything about Dimple was like, wow.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Around the same,
I mean, you watch that movie now and you're going to be like, wow, But
around the same time, we found out that she got married to Rajesh Khanna. And my God,
heartbroken.
We cursed and cursed and cursed, even though we had nothing to do with either Dimple or Rajesh Khanna or anyone. But those were the days.
Yeah.
The interest grew from there. And then, of course, 1978, I came to Vancouver.
Here we go. So this is where I want to get to. So you come to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And like, at what point did you decide to open Kamal's Video Palace? Like, what was it? Was it because I honestly don't know what year you were open.
Yeah.
And were you doing shows before that? During, like, what was kind of like the sequence of events? Were you the promoter first, or were you the retail first?
Nothing. In 1978, when I came here after doing my graduation from Delhi University as a Bachelor of Science, I got admitted myself at UBC, started doing computer programming. And around the same time, I started working at a travel office. While working at this travel office, one day the brother of the travel office owner came up to me and he said, well, you will manage my video store. And I had no idea what video is or anything like that.
Really?
And I said, yeah. Well, in those days, 1978, nobody had heard.
Yeah.
I had never even heard of video or video cassette or anything of that sort in 1978 back in India, or even while we were in Vancouver.
Okay.
So it got me curious, and I said, okay. So then I saw the video cassette for the first time.
Yeah.
And I took a video machine, which were huge in those days, and there was VHS format. Yep. And then, of course, a video cassette, played that movie, the terrible prints, I must say.
Yeah.
The movie was Laila Majnu, where you can see the sword splashing, but you don't know who is fighting who, unless and until they open their mouth. And that is when we find out that, okay, it's Rishi Kapoor fighting Ranjit or Rishi Kapoor fighting Denny, something like that. But it was very interesting to see that you have a video cassette where you can stop it anytime, you can pause it anytime, you can forward anytime, you can rewind anytime, and you can, do wonders with that, So I said, yes, I'll do that. So 1979 is when I joined the video store. And my God, within a few months, it became the talk of not just Vancouver or of British Columbia or of Canada, but the entire North America.
Which video store was it?
So there was Goel, the Video King.
Goel Video. Okay, so you know that my dad was the video shop. He was the original owner before everybody on Main Street.
Yes, of course.
My dad was a video shop.
But that was the time when we didn't have the originals.
No.
So this is why I'm saying
that's
in
why
1979.
That's why this is so close to me, because I come from the same roots as you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because I consider you a pioneer of exactly what we're talking about. And like, my dad does not like talking about this stuff at all. And
no, I agree. There were a few video stores which were around. They were not exactly video stores, to be very, very honest. They just had a few video cassettes or something.
What you were able to do was next level.
So
100%.
Exactly.
I give you credit.
So we brought the originals. I still remember going to Hong Kong, watching the entire proceedings of Esquire, the distributors, because they were the original distributors.
Esquire,
they were the ones, they were the ones who had bought the rights from the theater, the owners of the movies, the producers, and so on, and released those movies. I still remember Kurbani, Hamraz, Ali Baba, Chalis Chor. These were the three movies which were originally released in original format. and we used to have lineups for these people because people had never seen anything of this sort.
So how did that work then? Did you have like 3 or 4 copies that you would just rent out? Is that what we're talking about? Or
no. So we had the originals. We
yes,
of course
I remember
distributing
that.
it
Yeah.
all over North America.
Okay.
But then we were making the copies, and I'm admitting because that was the only way we could have done.
Everyone did it at that time.
So those copies were as good as the original because I mean, like you were making about 5 to 10 copies at a time, and there were lineups of people who were willing to pay any amount because they had never seen anything of this sort.
So they were buying them.
Yes, they were buying it.
Yeah, got it.
I mean, the buying of the video cassette in those days was about $50 to $60, and
really?
the rental in those days, and the rental was about $10 a day. So it was quite an amount. But this was the only mode of entertainment for our hardworking labor class people, and majority of them were
labor. It, and that's the whole point of, like, and this is why this conversation we're having is extremely important, because when I say anyone involved in that scene was so massive to the South Asian culture, is because you kept it alive just from a simple VHS cassette that you gave in someone's hand. You know what I mean?
So Aman, let me be very honest and frank with you.
Yeah.
When we first came, and I'm pretty sure this story goes the same with you as well, the only mode of meeting people was either going to the Gurdwara or temples or going to the grocery stores. That is where you used to see the people. That's about it. This was it. But then the same thing was taken over by the video stores because we were providing entertainment. Our community has always been very hardworking. People coming from Squamish, people coming from Port Hardy, people coming from Port Alberni, Victoria, and all those.
What was that like, Kamal, like back then? What was that like? It must have been like, holy smokes, like this is wild. Like it must have been like one of those awe-inspiring moments. You're like, not like you're onto something, not about the money aspect, but it's like, like we've hit a gold mine here. Like, this is a service to the community.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. Things were absolutely different. People who would come in, they would converse with you like you were a long lost friend or relative or something of that sort. And also because of the fact, that we were giving them the entertainment, we were providing the entertainment which will keep them busy for at least a week, because some of these people who were coming from, say, Port Hardy or far distant places, they were coming from even Fort St. John. There was nothing else for them to do, especially in winter time. They were coming once a month, grabbing their movie supplies, and then they will be every night watching those movies after having their supper or anything. And this was the only mode of entertainment. So we were like, like they say about the farmers, the andata, we were the entertainment data. And that is 100%. Exactly what we did. And people were very, very appreciative. So that is the arrangement we had. 1980, I still remember when I had first come to Canada, especially in Vancouver, there were about 6 to 7 theaters. We even had drive-in theaters where people would go. I still remember going to one of these drive-in theaters. I don't remember where exactly, but the movie was Mehbooba, and that was of Rajesh Khanna and Hema Malini. So you go in your car, you park your car, and then you start watching the movie. It was a different experience completely, something which we had never experienced back home. And here we were, in our own comfort watching movies. And similarly, there were quite a few theaters like Haida, Rio, and so many others, They were all providing playing movies, but those movies were obviously the older ones or the ones which were not that great. But one movie which sort of came at the same time, and it became a huge thing, that was Kurbani. It was in 1980, and it played at the Vancouver East Cinema, which was also called Patel Cinema. They had opened up brand new. They also owned Haida and York. Those were the other two. There was another one called Raj Cinema. So I remember
Raj.
You remember them. Yeah. So there were quite a few, but when Kurbani came, obviously it became a cult classic, people were going, the songs, the movie, everything. But around the same time, the movie came out on video. And when the video came out, those who were not able to get the cinema hall tickets, or those who would say, well, we have a large family. Why go and with 6 or 8 members, we can just buy this movie and watch it at our own comfort.
Yep.
And that video business completely shut all the theaters. And the
Really?
theaters were gone. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Each and every theater was shut down.
I didn't realize it was
within
that
a few
early.
months or so.
I didn't
Yes,
realize it was that early in the 80s. I thought, we all think because the digital
Gradually.
age is shut, the
Yeah.
digital age shut. I mean, mind you, they're coming back now. Like people are still going again, but wow, that's I didn't know that. That's cool. That's really
Well, I
not cool
think
in the sense of shut down, but it's like
I would say the stores which were there, the entertainment stores, and there were
Yep.
quite a few, like Patel Supermarket was there. They were selling LP records, long play records, vinyl ones.
Yep.
And then, of course, there were quite a few stores on Main Street which were
Yep.
selling cassettes and 8 tracks. But video revolution, I would call it revolution because it just completely shut anything and everything. And the videos took over. And within a span of months or years, you started seeing these video stores popping up everywhere in the lower mainland. Delta, Surrey, Burnaby, Richmond, Vancouver, all around.
Yeah.
I mean, at one time, Aman, would you believe that there were more than 150 video stores catering to the South Asian community? Yes. More than 150 video stores. Somebody should make a note of this, and this was the most profitable business, and each and every one was doing extremely well. So those were the days of the video store.
So when did you go solo then? When did you decide to open your own?
So before going solo, I went into television, and that happened in 1983. So it wasn't too long. 1983, before when we had come, Sushma ji, along with Nizar, they used to play movies on television.
Yep.
And it was on Czech television, I still remember.
Yep.
And again, the format was same as in India, half movie on Saturday, half movie on Sunday. And I saw a few movies of that kind as well.
Because they only had like a 2-hour window or whatever it was, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
because the regular channels would not be giving it to any particular community. So they would just give them a small window and that's about it.
Yeah.
But it was good than anything, because people were appreciative of the fact, that at least they was coming on the regular channels without any doing. But 1983 is also the time when Sushma started her pay-per TV on Worldview Television. Worldview Television had started, and that had started because it was going to be catering to the growing South Asian community. And for that, they chose Sushma. And Sushma ji used to show movies, dramas, Pakistani dramas, and especially in those days, Parchaiya, Tanhaiya, Ankahi, those became cult classics, and people were really very appreciative. And also so many other things. And 1983 is the time or the year when India won their first ever Cricket World Cup in England. And that World Cup highlights were shown on Sushma's television. Now, it was around the same time that I used to play cricket as well, because I was quite fond of playing cricket back home in India. And when I came here, I saw some people playing at Stanley Park, and I approached them and they joined the cricket team, Everest Cricket Club, and that is how I started playing too. Now, 2 of my guys, my mates, they were the specialized or you could say expert commentators of the television highlights which Sushma ji showed. So she came to me next day and she said, how was it? I said, it was great. India won, it was amazing. And I still remember when India won, I was playing cricket at Stanley Park, and we did Bhangra right there, because it was huge news. The first ever Asian team to win the World Cup.
Massive.
So she said, how was it? And I said, it was great. She said, no, I'm talking about those commentators. I said, well, they could have been better. She said, what do you mean? You could have done better? I said, yeah, I sure can. She said, okay, why don't you come over tomorrow, which is at the Worldview.
She's such a straight shooter, Sushma ji. I want to interview you too, actually. She's a straight shooter. She's like straight to the point, no nonsense. And she has that eye,
Yeah, well, I guess she must have, because she called me the next day. I went there for interview, and it was the Worldview producer, Karen, who took my interview. She asked me, gave me a few lines to say it, and I did. And she immediately said, okay, you're in. So I started television news reading
Okay.
in 1983.
Wow.
It was the month of September. I still
Wow.
remember.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and it was incredible. People
Yep.
started noticing, especially those who had worldview. But still, because it was a pay-per-view, not too many people had access to that. So a large number still were absolutely not knowing that something of this kind is going on. But while I was doing that, one day I said to Shishma, I said, this is so easy thing, for me, that I go there, I read my lines, which is, that India played against Pakistan or India played against England. I said, it's not something which is giving me, I could do much more. She said, what else can you do? I said, I could do a new show called Yadin. And she said, well, what is that? I
Classic.
said, I will be talking about the
Yeah.
yesteryear's actors and, music industry
I
people and
remember
all
that.
that.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. So the first one I did was on Madhubala. And
Okay.
believe it, Aman, it became a huge hit. In fact, I found out later that people, especially the rest of the video store, they were selling the video copies of
Yeah.
my
100%.
show.
Yeah. I
Because
know.
not too many people had access to Worldview television,
Yeah.
so they were selling those.
I don't know how
And I
many
said,
times I've put on
wow.
a video and your top 10s in there.
Exactly. So the Yade started, became a hit. And then I said, well, I should be doing, because I used to get a few phone calls of some irritated fans, you could say, who would say, well, you talk about those old black and white films, why don't you show us something new?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I will listen to you. And I started the top 10. And top 10 started in October, and that became a huge hit as well. And these were those days when Sushma and I used to do television show on Thursdays. And people would have finished all their homework, the ladies especially, people will have their dinner, or they will have dinner while the show is on, and they will watch it absolutely awestruck till about 11 p.m. while the program is on. And sometimes it used to go even till midnight. So that's how the television started.
So I just want to let people know and understand that Kamal's top 10 was, whatever you want to say, absolutely iconic, because that was a show where even me as a DJ would watch to find out what's new, what's upcoming. Like this is the part that people don't understand. Oh, it's just only a top. No, it's not just a top 10. It was the show, minimum North America, probably, or else around the world, where Kamal would come on and basically say, here's one, here's two. And it was like, yes, 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 yes. Like you were the like our version of like, the VJ of the country. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So I applaud you for those years of service for you, because without you, I'm being honest with you, without you, Kamal, I never would have been in, I would never be able to understand Hindi music per se, because I'm, being Punjabi and like being in the hip hop world. I mean, I used to come to you and be like, listen, I'm gonna do like in a smiley party, whatever, like what are some good Hindi songs? You're like, here, you just give me a stack of CDs, just take these, and I'd be like, okay. So, and that's kind of like where we're going with this, like like your expertise and your knowledge, the way that you were able to portray the message. I'm assuming it was unscripted. Like, obviously you knew what you were saying, like, and all
my shows have been unscripted,
and that's an art to that. Like, that's something that's in here. So when Mara asked you, like, what was your itch? And I was coming to this is because whatever worked back then set you up to be able to give you, this, and then you gave it to us, and it was absolutely, it was amazing. So I can't stress that enough. Like, people really need to understand what we're talking about here. Like the delivery of the message that you were able to give was absolutely epic. Honestly.
So Aman, let me just go back to Yadin. Why I gave it the name Yadin. Yadin, of course, means memories.
Yeah.
And this is what I was talking about in that whole show of 1 hour. Memories of the yesteryear's artists, whether they were actors, actresses, producers, music composers, lyricists, anything and everything related to film. But I have to admit here that this program was inspired by something which I had seen way back on Delhi Doordarshan. And that program was called यादें जो कुछ याद रहे.
Right.
Memories which you remember.
Yep.
And this was a gentleman who would come and he would pick up a reel and start talking about that particular. So I worked on that. And I said, rather than showing a particular scene, why don't I talk in detail about an artist?
Yeah.
That would be much more interesting to my viewers. And that
100%.
is what Yade, that's how Yade became popular. But then again, like I said, when I started getting calls from youngsters and said, why don't you do something for us? That is when I realized that this is a powerful medium where I can bring the youngsters on to this television set and through my program, get them into Indian culture, art, and also entertainment. And this way they will be connected because they're all watching it with their families. So they're all at home in the wonderful atmosphere. So that is how Top 10 came up and it became very popular. And I'm so proud that somebody called me up who was visiting Vancouver in those days. And this is, I'm talking about mid 80s, when this lady said to me, you know what, I'm visiting from Mumbai and I happen to watch your show. And I must say that we don't have anything of this sort in Bombay, because in those days it was called Bombay. And that made me so proud. I felt so amazed. And of course, later on, the same format was all over Bombay because everybody became BJ and they were doing the same thing, which I started way back in 1983. So I would say that I did something which later became a norm, not just in India, but around the world, you know. But that is how I started.
That's fantastic, man. Honestly, it's like I'm just listening to it and I got chills down my spine because this is like I eat and sleep and breathe this stuff too, like you. That's why it's like I find it really fascinating. You know, we're getting to the core of what, you know.
Well, another interesting thing about Top 10 especially was when I was there, I noticed, you know, that our community, as I was mentioning, it was very, very hardworking. Now, I will give you one incident, you know, where I did this show from Dr. Sanya Sun Gardens. And I got a call from a taxi driver and he says, Kamal ji, program बहुत सोना सीगा. किहड़ी जगह सी? मैं कही Chinatown. वो कहना मैं रोज उत्थे ही जांदा Kamal ji, मैं कभी देखिया नहीं. मैं कही, believe me, it is right there, Chinatown, the gate, the iconic gate. Right there is Dr. Sanya Sun Garden. कहना मैं अंदर ही नहीं कभी गया, तो मैं तो बाहर तो निकल जाना सीगा. So that is when I realized the medium being so huge that it can educate our community. I mean, like there was another lady who had called me from Mission or Abbotsford, and she said, "Well, you show both of these. Kitno siga mega downtown. Can you wo kithe haiga?" And I said, "Are you telling me you don't know where downtown is?" She said, "Nahi, Paji. Airport to sidha ethe aa gaye sige Abbotsford and Mission, and I don't remember where exactly what, but it was there." And she said, "I have never been to downtown Vancouver." And this lady was here for almost 4 or 5 years. So that is the kind of people we had. And I thought this will be one good way of entertaining people and also educating people. And that was the reason, you know, that I did top 10 from almost everywhere in Canada. And I even did it from some other cities around the world. I did it from India, I did it from Hong Kong, London, you name it. You know, so it was something, you know, which I enjoyed doing. And more than anything, people enjoyed watching it.
Baji, like but this is probably the most important part of the conversation we're going to have, because my whole purpose in life was to showcase our city, showcase our music in whichever way I could. Not only were you selling, you know, introducing new stuff to a culture so they can stay tied in, but you're also selling the city. And you did it very effectively. And no one else, and I can hand on heart say this, and anyone can challenge me, I don't care. No one, since I'm 46, so I've been here since day one. No one has been able to do what you do to be able to sell the city like this and showcase the culture. That was the whole point of having you here, was to show people, you know, whoever watched this, whoever listens around the world, that what you did for us, right, out of the pure goodness of your heart, really, at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
But not only did you give us iconic music, but you also showed us how beautiful our city is, our country is at the same time. Because I remember watching the show, and be like, I wonder where he's going to be this week. You know, I wonder where he's going to be. You
Yeah,
know, you know,
I agree. I agree. This was
it's
one thing.
that you should be proud, and I'm glad you're proud of that, because it's no one else has done it. Nobody else that I know, and I've watched every show on TV, Vision TV. Like, no one has done what you've done out of your own time, out of your own pay, right? Out of your own schedule. You have a family as well. Like, I don't, like, it's iconic. It's, I'm like I said, thank you. Thank you for
No,
that.
no. Thank you so much. But I have to add here that when I first came to Vancouver, Canada, this was way back in 1978. Like I said, I came in October. Being from Delhi, which is the capital of India and also one of the most populated cities in the world, it was an absolute shocker to me when I first landed here in
I
Vancouver.
could imagine.
You would not see no one around. The streets were deserted. And like I said, the only time we would see our apnas, was at the Gurdwara. And we used to go a lot to the one which was at Fraser and 11th. Obviously, it's not there anymore, but now it's become
I remember that
But
one.
in those days, that was the one where we used to go. And Sundays was like a very happy day for us, because not only we would meet different people, but we also have prashada afterwards, langar, and enjoy so much. So we used to look forward to. But other than that, you would hardly see anyone outside. So for me, it was like an absolute shocker. But then I realized that this so-called village is also very pretty. And this prettiness came up much later, of course, with 1986, when the Expo first came here, and it made it into a world-class city. And thereafter, of course, a lot of other things happened. But we had so much to show in this city. And this is why I thought, that why don't showcase Vancouver, British Columbia, to our people and let them realize that we are living in paradise and enjoy to the fullest, and also pay back to this beautiful city and the beautiful province in every way we can. And we thankfully have done that, with our sheer hard work, with our mentality of doing seva and not worrying about getting meva or anything. Those things have, because we belong to a community, we belong to it's such a proud race, which always believes in doing it for others, and then thereafter, of course, enjoying it. Today, if we are where we are, it is because of those pioneers. I mean, we've been here for hundreds of years. I mean, not hundreds, but I would say over 100 years. And since those days, we have seen a lot happening, but it wasn't that easy. But however, today, if we are reaping the benefits of those pioneers, thankful to them. And of course, now we can say that we can do much, much more today. For example, today, I mean, the entire BC is in the grip of floods, and yet our community is doing their utmost by offering them all kind of services or help. And that is what our community is known for. So 100%. I'm glad that I did something which now people are appreciating. And of course, a lot of other people, it showed or gave direction to a lot of youngsters as well. And those youngsters, when they come up to me and they say, well, we used to watch you on television, we used to listen to you on radio. I mean, it gives me immense pride, that at least I did something which has helped these children go. And now they're working on, mainstream radio stations or mainstream television. And it's a proud moment for all of us.
That's cool. I mean, it's great. Now stepping forward into, you branch off on your own, you got your own location.
Yes.
What was that like?
So it was wonderful. I have to say, it started way back in 1990.
Okay. 1990.
And so that is when I started my Kamal.
So did you have the store first then, or did you do shows first? Was the store first?
So the show started, the video store started first.
Okay, let's go there.
That was in
video store. Okay.
Yes. So 1990, I opened my video store, and I still would say that it was an incredible experience because, I am from a middle class family background, back from India, and coming back here, of course, I started working from a young age. Oh, by the way, during all this, I got married and I had kids as well.
Okay.
So
Wow.
this whole thing
Yeah.
happened. And this is when I started my video store in 1990. And from the very first day, 1st of December 1990, I still remember my mom and my wife, they started preparing things in the morning. As you know how it is in our culture, when you open a new business, you like to feed them with mithai or anything. So they started making. But on the other hand, it also was snowing on that day. And I said, oh my God, on this day when I'm opening up, it is snowing.
Has to snow.
Obviously, it will be affecting the traffic or everything. Anyhow, I took my chances, and there I was at the store. And after the initial puja and ardas, we started the place. And from that moment, the steady stream of people started coming in, and it did not finish till midnight. And I must say that on that day, I saw most money in my life.
Really? Wow,
it was
great.
so rewarding.
Yeah.
And that is how Kamal's Video Palace started. During this tour, because it became popular very soon, we started seeing the Bollywood stars, the Punjabi artists, the Hindi artists coming into the store, because this was one place for them to come in, to see what is happening in the community.
Because we used your store in Surrey. Remember, we did Rishi Rich, Jagidi, and Jay Sean. It's because you showed us so much love. You showed you're always, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's emotional saying this. Like, you just even though we had the age gap, you probably didn't like some of the music we liked, but it didn't matter to you. You're like, you know what? It's music, it's culture. My doors are open for you. And you're the only one without hesitation. There's no like, I want this, there's gotta be security. I want, it was just like, no problem. Just, we'll discuss it. And it was done like every single time.
So before you brought Rishi Rich and Jaggi D and Jay Sean,
you had
Bali Sagoo had come to the store, and I don't know whether you remember that.
Yeah.
When Bali Sagoo came, the Vancouver cops came up to my store because the line was almost
was that the first time he came?
The first time.
Yeah, because he came. Yeah,
so he did the autograph session at my store.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, Wham Bam, I was there.
And it was 1 mile long.
Yeah.
People were lining up, and the cops came. He said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "Yeah. This is just an autograph session, so don't worry about it." It was an incredible experience, and like that, I had very many experiences. One day I am there, and all of a sudden I watch Akshay Kumar is roaming around my store, and I said, Akshay Kumar. I mean, he had come for a concert, and there he is. And similarly, one day, Amanpal Sara, I hope you know, one of the famous Punjabi producer, director, and actor. And he comes along with Ompuri. And Ompuri had come to the Vancouver International Film Festival, and there he was, and he walks in, and he goes and started looking the videos, and one of them, Patthar Se Takkar, he picks up and he says, "Gee, this is my movie. It's not even released in India, and you have it." And I said, "Well, that's the beauty of being in Vancouver." So there are a lot of such incidents, and the one in particular, my God, I won't forget. Very busy at the store, numbers of people, and I hear a familiar voice, and she's saying, "Kamal, can you give me this CD? Kamal, can you give me that?" I said, "This voice looks familiar." Finally, I got the chance to look up, and who was there? Shilpa Shetty.
No way.
And Shiva Shetty was buying CDs, So similarly, great experiences. Singers like Kuldeep Paras coming in, Mohammed Siddiq, Ranjit Kaur coming in, Kuldeep Manak, whose birthday we celebrated, recently. He was there, and so many other artists, and so many memories. I mean, incredible memories. Farah and Amrita Singh, both walking at the store. So a lot of things, Or Subhash Ghai coming in, he says, "Come on, I need your help." I said, "What for?" He said, "I need some extras for the shooting of Pardesh." I said, "No problem. You'll get them." And hundreds of people show up at UBC. And of course, later on, we found out, Vancouver was shown as Los Angeles, that's a different story altogether.
But that's great because you were my go-to guy. I remember I used to come to your store and you knew what I wanted. You'd be like, here's a stack, whatever you want, keep, whatever you don't, just leave them over here. And I'd go through them. And I never used to listen to them because I trusted your judgment. I'm like, I'm a hoarder as well and a collector too. So, but I used to pretty much buy everything you gave me. Like, this is new, this is new, this is new. And I'm like, okay, I'll take them all. So, your collection was unbelievable. Like, you're like everything from like Punjabi to ghazals to Sufi stuff to you name it. Your collection was intense, and that's just years of knowledge and just I guess
I was fast learner, I would say, because coming to Vancouver, I hardly spoke any word of Punjabi, and I'm telling you honest, even though I'm from Delhi, most of my friends are all Punjabis. My wife is Punjabi, but I never spoke a word of Punjabi. So there were some incidents where which are quite funny, but I had to learn it. In fact, let me just tell you very honestly, when I got married and my brother-in-law came to my house, and now they are from Ludhiana, Punjab, and fluent in Punjabi. So they're looking at me and I'm looking at them, and finally they said, Kamal, yaad hai sanu Hindi sikha deo ya sade kolo Punjabi sikh. So that is when I realized if I have to survive, I have to learn, and I did, and thankfully I've been okay so far. But this is how the video store progressed, and it became the talk of not just Vancouver but all around. But then you are asking about concerts. So
but before we go to that, I just want to, this is documented right here on this show, that Kamal's Video Palace was the icon of our Punjabi community. That's where we all went, especially when it comes to music, film, anything like that. That's where we all went to converge and discuss and buy. And if it wasn't for, obviously there's other stores and stuff, but if it wasn't for your store, I tell you, it'd be a dismal culture, man. So I want to personally thank you for that. But let's get into the shows. Well, I guess what was your first show and like how'd you get into it, sort of thing, and what was
it happened
like?
By chance. I'll be honest. While we were at the video store, of course, we used to sell and promote anything and everything which was happening.
So it's a natural sort of progression, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So I was selling the concert tickets, and we used to sell a lot, because people had trust, people knew, and so all those things, And when this is when one of the international promoters who used to see me came up to me. He said, "Well, I've been seeing you that you've been selling the concert tickets of our concert. Why don't you do it yourself?" I said, "Oh, that never came into my mind." He said, "Well, I'm bringing Jagjit Singh," and this was Jagjit Singh coming back for the first time after the death of his son.
That was I remember this. That was a brilliant concert.
So this was in 1994.
Yes.
And I immediately said yes. I did not even ask the pricing or anything. I immediately said yes. It was my first concert, and I was looking for a venue somewhere in downtown. And I found one called the Vogue Theater. Now, Vogue is on Granville Street. It was under a different management in those days. And I went up to the guy and I said, "Well, listen, I need your help because this is my first concert, but I'm bringing an amazing artist and I can guarantee you that it will be a sellout. So you just help me and I will help you in every way possible." He said, "Okay." He said, "Can I keep all the liquor money?" I said, "Yeah, sure. I have no interest in that." This were the days, when I was not in touching liquor. So anyhow, the show was sold out a month in advance. And it became, and it still is, a record in British Columbia.
For attendance?
This is in 1994, April month. The concert was sold out a month in advance. I went up to the manager and I said, "Well, listen, I'm already sold. Can you put up some extra chairs?" He said, "I can give you 100. I said, "Sure, no problem." So he gave me another 100 chairs. We put it up somewhere, and those 100 seats were gone as well. I went up to him again and I said, "Can I get some more?" And he says, "Okay, but this is it. I cannot increase anymore." I said, "Okay, no problem." So he gave me some more extra chairs, and we went around. The situation was such then when the concert was happening, there were two people sitting on one chair. People were sitting on the stairs. Thank God the Vancouver firefighters did
Never
not
came.
come
Yeah.
in. Otherwise,
They've been
things
shut
would have
down.
been different. But
Yeah.
it was a concert which people will remember. And I will tell you a funny story about it. At intermission, I went out when somebody said to me, "Oh, Kamal is great." I said, "Are you enjoying it?" They said, "Yeah, we can enjoy something better, if he gives it, if he pumps it up a bit. I said, "Okay, fine." So I went to the backstage and there is Jagjit Singh, and Jagjit Singh said, "So Kamal, how is it going?" I said, "Some people are saying that if you can just uplift it a bit, He said, "Okay, then bring the bottle." I said, "What?" He said, "Bring the bottle." I said, I didn't understand what he's talking about. Like I said, I have absolutely raw. So I went up to the international promoter. He says, "Kamalji, look at the contract. It says, you have to provide a bottle of liquor." I said, "I had no idea. I didn't even go to the fine print. I just signed, and that's about it." Anyhow, I sent my brother and I said, "Can you just go and get a bottle?" It was, I think, Chivas Regal or
Is that what he
something like
wanted?
yeah. So he went to a bar and he brought it in, and Jagjit Singh and his group, they all had it.
Yeah.
And my God, when they came back,
Second half,
they sang and sang. The concert went for about 5 hours, and still people remember it. So that is Jagjit Singh's first concert after his son's death, and of course, first concert of Kamal's Video Palace or KVP Entertainment.
Wow.
And that is how I got into the concert business.
So so how many shows have you done? Do you know? Do you have an account? It's a rough number.
A rough number, I probably would say, is in hundreds.
Do you hear that, folks? Hundreds. Hundreds of shows. Do you understand? I just want to put this into perspective. I've done some shows. I could probably count them on my hand, right? I got partners that have done shows. I can probably count those on my hand. I mean, you sold tickets for us for Imran Khan when he first came. And I remember you used to phone me, be like, "We need more tickets." I'm like, "I can't. The police won't let me sell you anymore." And we thought we were like, "Oh yeah, we sold out show," but hundreds of shows that you've done for our community to serve us has a massive impact of the culture here. And that's the part. And this is the reason why I wanted you on the show, was because people really need to understand that the thriving music culture here, whether it's Bhangra, whether it's, Dandiya dancing, whether it's like film, guzzles, this is all a huge impact because of what you've done. And I know it might be kind of like weird to take this in or whatever. And I feel that you've never been recognized properly for what you've done. And I'm telling you not just as a fan, but as a friend, as a student of the game, that what you've done for our community here, no one can't even compete on the music and culture side of things. And that was the whole sole purpose of you. I thank you for giving me the evening with me, because this is really important, because people are only going to remember, the cool and sexy, the guys with the Hall of Fames on the boardwalk, or someone who made a movie that went big, you know what I mean? Or like the Mons or the Jazzy Bees, but the sheer impact, none of these guys would be here if it wasn't for the stuff you've done. So, thank you for that.
I feel grateful that our community trusted me all through these years, and I am so thankful to them. And like I said, the biggest reward is, when people stop you on the streets and say, "Well, I grew up watching you on television," or "I saw the concerts you put up," or "My kids are watching your television shows now." I say, wow, it has really gone to this length. I feel proud of the fact, that I'm the first South Asian origin person who has been having television show for more than 37 years. Also,
excuse me,
that
I
I've
just
been
choked
doing
on my jaw there. How long? 37
years. Yes.
Holy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. or that the concerts which I started way back in 1994 are still going on. A lot of people came before me, a lot of people have come after me, but they are nowhere to be seen. However, I'm still carrying on and trying to be bringing the quality shows which will bring communities together. I mean, I have done concerts or the artists from India, from Pakistan, from England. So it gives me immense pleasure, when these concerts bring communities together. I mean, I still remember I was on cloud nine when I found out that Ustad Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Sahab, who had never been to any store, chose to come to my store. And it did. And when he came, I was literally not just myself, but even those who were present, they were all in tears because this was the first time for him to come to a video store. So these kind of things, are my rewards. Those are the ones, which I will cherish forever. And irrespective, a lot of people may say, oh, we did this, we did that. But I have the pride that I brought so many, and they all succeeded. And they brought out the best of our communities. That is what I would say is the best reward for me.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, like, what do you want me to say? Like, we did shows too, but we're we're not even we're not even competition. Like it's a different level, but it was always respect. I mean, it's there's not enough words to describe like this. It's really like you have to be here and live here and be sort of in that culture to understand the impact that you've had, especially on someone like me, because I'm just honestly, like, I know this may sound really corny, but I've tried to be like you. I really have. Like, I've tried to do whatever I could to support Vancouver as a music culture. Like, even on my radio shows, even if you sucked, like, even if your song was garbage, right? If you were from Vancouver, I would play you.
Good.
You know what I mean? Like, even when I'm DJing and some young DJ would come up to me and be like, I want to play, I'd be like, go ahead. Knock your socks off, even if you suck, because I'm getting paid at the end of the day. So it didn't really matter to me, right? You can say exploitation of labor, but still, it's the only way you're going to give opportunity. And the only way I could think of, like you've given back more than enough. The amount, and for you to keep going on, I find like you don't owe anyone anything really. Like, you could stop today and the legacy is done. Like, the legacy was done 10 years ago, So when I look at you and, here, like this has inspired me now to do more. Honestly, this interview, like this, honestly, the interview for me was very selfish. Like, I wanted to learn from you. I wanted to hear from you because, everyone gets stagnant. Everyone gets to a point where like, oh, I'm done. Like, because, people, piss you off or things are going your way. Our community is sometimes it's a very jealous culture. So, you just want to stop. But after hearing this, it's like, no, I'm going to keep going until as far as I can go.
That's the beauty of our culture. That's the beauty of our community. I mean, I've known you for so many years.
Yeah.
You would come in to get some new stuff because you wanted your audiences to get some new stuff.
Yeah.
And that was, basically providing them entertainment or education as well, because your podcast and your video programs I have heard, and you've always been very informative and trying to be educative as well, which is what public wants. And that is exactly what I did, when I first came here. I mean, being from Delhi, obviously, like I said, we felt, that there was so much more I could do for the ones who have been here and who have been here for God knows how long, but they have been stuck where they were. And the television shows or the radio shows and even the newspaper articles or magazine articles, which I used to write, they were all trying to bring our community up. And I'm so glad that the community not only has come up, it is one of the most influential community right now in North
100%.
America.
Yeah.
And if BC is what it is today, credit goes to the South Asians of Indian, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan origin, who have done wonders, not just by themselves, but also in bringing up more communities together. I mean, wherever they have gone, be it in
Yeah.
politics, be it in business, be it in entertainment. They have done wonders.
Mhm.
And that was the whole intention of mine, that whatever I do something good. I mean, just to give you an example, when I first started the video store, those were the days when people used to write it on notebooks, if you recall. And people would come in, and you would give them a movie, you will write it on a piece of paper.
Yep.
If the piece of paper is gone, so goes, your history of
Yeah.
what those people have taken. So mine was the first computerized video store. And in those days, it was a huge thing. But I'm glad that I did that, because afterwards, everybody had videos.
Yeah.
Everybody started computerizing their video stores. So you have to go along with the technology as well as other things
Yep.
to bring the community up, bring the industry up. And I somehow always kept that in mind. And this is why I always did my concerts at the best of the best venues, always believed, that we have to have the best of the best sound system, because if the sound system is not good, if your audiences cannot hear your artists, what is the point of putting them up in a beautiful theater? Makes absolutely no sense.
You've always
Exactly.
used good, like Chris Breer, right? It was
Always
always.
believe in the best of the best, and
I
this
was
is
very
why.
fortunate I got to work with him at your show. So
Ah,
yeah, no, it's phenomenal. I mean, speaking of technology, obviously, the slow, painful death of the video is, I guess, store industry.
Yes.
I mean, it takes a toll. I guess it was a natural progression. But what's your thoughts on it? Like now looking, like obviously when it happened, it was, obviously it's a shitty deal.
yes.
But now, like, what's your whole take on sort of the technology and how things are going?
Soman, you and I, we both have dealt it, and you probably would know, and you have been saying to me for quite some time, Paji, bring the vinyls back. And now what we are looking at, we are seeing the vinyls back. So my feel is, the technology comes around. It does, and we are seeing the vinyls. I'm pretty sure there will be a day when people will go back, or at least think about bringing the DVDs back or the video stores back, because not everything is available online. There are a lot more stuff, which you can find access to. Like, I mean, I still am quite proud of the fact, that we had some movies which have never been released.
Yeah.
Now, those movies will never be available online because the online system is a total different system.
Yeah.
Or even if they are, maybe there is nobody to guide them or educate them.
So, or they can't find the originals. Like there's so many things, right? I mean, I remember this conversation we had actually with the vinyls. I remember I used to basically come in the store and be like, you need to get vinyls. Yeah. And I remember when you bought a bunch of Hindi ones. I can't remember which one it was. I came in the store and I saw them. I go, oh, and you said, Aman, you won't believe me. I sold this one for 150, whatever it was. It was over $100. I'm like, see, I told you. You're like, I'm going to order more. And I remember it was a hot commodity. People used to come in, not for your video. People would be like, do you have vinyls? Do you have vinyls?
Yeah, it still is. Aman, it still is. People are out there who are willing to pay any amount to get these vinyls, because they all know, as you used to insist, in telling me, Pajit, the best sound is a vinyl. And 100%. It is. Yeah. I mean, no matter you have triple D or whatever kind of recordings you have, the vinyl recording is the ultimate recording. And once people get to hear that, they will not go for anything else. So this is why vinyls are coming back.
Yeah.
Dying of the video store, well, I mean, I guess you have to look at it this way, that, and at least I have taken it in that way philosophically, that anything and everything has its time. It had, when we started way back in early 80s, it was an incredible experience. People made money, people made so much. And now that it has gone away, I guess it's unfortunate. But on the other hand, it lasted very, very long. And till it lasted, it was of benefit to anyone and everyone. This is how I look at it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's an amazing story. So are you still doing shows then? Are you still involved in the culture?
I still am. So Kamal Sharma Palace is gone. Yes, but KVP Entertainers and KVP Heritage, they're both there. Okay. Now, KVP Entertainers is totally dedicated to Bollywood, whereas KVP Heritage is to promote the classical music, because the base of any music is classical music. And that is why I've always believed that if we do not promote classical music, it will be a sad demise of the Bollywood music as well.
Thank
And
you. Thank you. Thank you. This is right. I say this probably at least 2-3 times a month on my social media. If we don't document the past, it's going to get lost in translation.
Yes.
And we as a culture, except yourself, because with Yade, and I try my best, but we as a culture, whether it's Punjabis, Hindi, Bollywood, they do a very, very poor job of doing what you did, like Yade, like actually documenting autobiographies, biopics, of real footage, of old footage. We do a really horrible job. It's not like, when you go see a documentary on like HBO or like Netflix of like, Elvis Presley, you know what I mean? Or something. Like, we do a very poor job. And I know you've done whatever you could, you got your heritage thing going on. I do whatever I can, but I mean, and this is no disrespect to you. I'm not saying what you're doing is not important, but it's not obviously not nearly enough. And we as a culture, I think, really need to focus on that and spend some money, get the directors, before that footage gets lost, because it will get lost. Building's going to catch on fire, or, some new CEO is going to come in at Tips or T Series and be like, get rid of this, all this old stuff, Aki, Emi, Pranaja stuff. We don't need any of these VHS cassettes, it's going to happen.
So I'm also doing something different, because I understand there are some people who may have seen the concerts which KVP Entertainers have put up, but some, of course, may have missed it, because like whenever I did Jagjit Singh concert, they were always sold out. Or whenever I did Rahat Fateh Ali Khan concerts or Sonu Nigam concerts, they were always sold out.
Oh, that first Sonu Nigam one you did? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that was rock star.
I have had the pleasure of having him 7 times.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only promoter in all of North America, at least, who could say that. And all 7 concerts, he was just incredible.
Yeah.
He always did something extraordinarily. And this is why Sonu is Sonu and Sonu Nigam. But what I have started lately is starting a new YouTube channel of KVP Entertainers.
Awesome.
And all those concerts and all those memories of Yade or top 10 or top 5, or even the hundreds of interviews which I've done all through these years, they will be on KVP Entertainers YouTube channel. People
is that
can
live
go
now?
on those.
Is it
yes,
live
it
now?
Is.
So
yes, it is.
I'll leave a link in the description to that YouTube channel, and I highly recommend you guys check it out, because if you want to understand and watch history, that's like, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So I'll definitely leave a link in the description for that.
So there's a funny incident which I want to narrate here, for the viewers as well. It was 2001 when I first got a call that Mahendra Kapoor ji is coming. And I'm a huge fan of Mahendra Kapoor, his Punjabi and Hindi singing, and especially all those patriotic songs which he has sung over the years. I mean, all Manoj Kumar films.
Yeah,
and,
Desh Ki Dharti, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Desh Ki Dharti and Hai Watan. So I was like on cloud 9, and I immediately said yes. Now again, because he is a artist and a legend, and I knew that he was past his prime, I said, well, I have to get him the best of the best format and the best of the best stage. So I approached Center for Performing Arts in Vancouver, in downtown
Great
Vancouver.
venue.
Wonderful venue. And they used to have musicals from, Broadway or all those other places. So when I approached them, they right away said no. I said, well, listen, this is a great artist. Somehow I managed to get that, and sold it to them. And I tell you, it was with huge difficulties. But when that concert happened, each and every one of those 1,900 audience members sitting there, they were literally dancing. And when he invited people on stage, Aajo mere Vancouver de Naujawano, a lot of people jumped up, and it was one incredible experience.
Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime.
So I have had the pleasure of doing artists like Mahendra Kapoor and also bringing Dileer Mehndi for the first time when I celebrated the 300th birth anniversary of Khalsa. And this was at the Pacific Coliseum. And my God, That concert was on the front page of the Vancouver Sun, and it still is the only concert to be featured on the front pages of the Vancouver Sun. So that was incredible, appreciation I got.
Yeah.
So many others, Shah Rukh Khan, Hrithik Roshan, we brought in for the first time. And the first time laser was used in an Indian concert. Otherwise, nobody had any idea what lasers are. So many other things we did. I was the first one at the River Rock Casino Theater.
Yes.
I was the first one at the Hard Rock Casino Theater. And then, of course, so many other theaters like the Borg.
We're so jealous because we could never get any of these venues. Like Kamal just walks up, hey, we're going to do a concert. Yeah, no problem, sir. Here, come on in. And we're just like, oh, man. But we understand why, because, I mean, your shows were shows. They were totally geared for that venue.
Yes, so, and I have the satisfaction, that I always gave the best to the audiences, the best venue, the best sound system,
consistently too.
Pricing.
Consistently too. So this is the part that people don't understand. Like, I can't count how many memorable shows you've done, because every time you bring it up, it's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh, I did this. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like I've seen pretty much most of them that you've put on, and there's not like, obviously the Jagjit Singh was memorable, but like Mindra Kapoor one was memorable.
The first one to bring in Shreya Ghoshal,
but
and Shreya Ghoshal I did 3 times, and then Sunidhi Chauhan, of course.
Oh, see what I mean? Like that was amazing, that show.
You
know, like I think she's a rock star. I was like, you know what I mean? Wow, it's just, your record is just. It's amazing record. So I'm curious. Let's talk about 2021 now.
Yes.
I want your take on, and both good and bad, because this is a form. I want to hear your some honesty here. Like, what's your take on the whole sort of, I guess, the film culture, the music aspect of it, or even the shows? Like, what's your take? And because you've been doing it for so long, you've been doing it your way. Obviously, things change over time. Listenership, viewership changes, listenership changes, as we always find out. So me personally, it's very hard for me to watch a new film because I don't like. It's just, I find the actresses and actors way too perfect, and to me, it sets a bad example. For like we watch old films like Rajesh Khanna wasn't the greatest looking guy in the world, but he was a great actor. Like Om Puri, Amrish Puri, right? These were like actors played the right role, versus I find now it's like, okay, we need to find this perfect figure with this guy who's got a 6-pack. Who cares if they can't act per se? Let's put him in. And like I just want to, like, that's me. I'm not saying that's what you're gonna say, but what's your take on kind of like how things are?
So I'm going to take you back to February 2020.
Okay.
I was visiting India. I had gone there for a marriage at Jaipur. Everything was great. And while being there, we started hearing the horror stories about COVID. And immediately...
so you were there in 2020?
In 2020, yes. I was there in February 2020.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And as soon as we found out that things are getting bad, immediately, I mean, of course, I was supposed to come back, but I made sure that my wife, who was supposed to live for a further time in Punjab, I said, no, let's go back, because I think the flights are going to be shut soon. And she came back as well. We both came back. But then we started seeing things going from bad to worse. In this, what I'm trying to say is, that everybody was unsure about what is happening. Social media took over, and through social media, we started hearing things, which we weren't sure whether they are really true or they are false. But everybody was believing in those things, and then we started also seeing the negativity. Now, that negativity has unfortunately gone into Bollywood as well.
Okay.
We saw a few people die at very young age, some for different reasons and some because of COVID. But that created an atmosphere where people became more and more, or grew more and more against the Bollywood. The theaters were closed. The only way people could see the movies was on OTT and online. We started watching some movies which were made hurriedly, or maybe they were not done that well, but because there was no other way, they were shown in there.
Right.
But the negativity kept creeping in, and it still is creeping in. I agree to a certain extent that the quality of movies have gone down. However, we have also seen some quality movies coming back, in the sense, that some well-made movies are being shown and they are being appreciated. I will not go back, but I will come to the present, where we recently saw a movie which, in my personal opinion, should have been shown in theaters and would have been an inspiration to millions, rather billions.
Right.
However, because of the COVID situation, it came out on OTT platform, and the movie is, of course, Shaheed Sardar Udham. It is a wonderful film. And most of us, of course, we don't know much about Sardar Udham, because most of his story is still sitting in the vaults of Britain, and they will be released after 100 years. And that is, we're talking about 2040. However, with whatever sources were available, Shuji Sarkar made such a wonderful film, and he took us through Jallianwala Bagh, and in such a way that we felt the horrors of Jallianwala Bagh, which we had only heard about from our forefathers or through, history books. But we experienced that wholesomely through this movie. And I would say hats off to him. I would have loved to see this movie being India's official entry for Oscar. However, the selection panel had their own way, and they chose something different. But I will say that some of these movies which have come out recently, when these are being screened online only, they are creating such a wonderful atmosphere, that it gives you the feel, that all is not lost in Bollywood. There are some other ways, like some of the web series we are seeing. There was no way that those people would have made those web series. Like I'm talking about The Family Man or Arya, and some others, like Sacred Games, etc.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But I mean, like having that Netflix channel was fantastic. So you don't have to go that traditional, but those weren't actually traditional Bollywood style films, right? But this is the problem, right? Like they have to go somewhere else to release them. Like, and the other problem I have with Bollywood is like, why can't they ever use street records? Like Bollywood film music, and this is no disrespect because I know you're a Bollywood film guy, but like say they take a song from some famous group. Why can't they take that song, stick it in the film, and then they remake it and ruin it? You know what I mean? Like right now, the trend is taking Punjabi classics and just butchering them, right? But I think there's a place for that traditional Bollywood film, but they have an opportunity here to appease, street kids like me, right? Or like that sort of like, because I watched, what was that hip hop film that they released with what was it called? Gully Boy?
Gully Boy, yes.
Yeah, see something like
and
that.
That was India's official entry for Oscar too.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that like it wasn't bad, right? No. It wasn't bad, but I mean, I would like to see more sort of street films, like I don't know how to explain that. I think you know what I mean.
No, I agree.
Like Sacred Games coming out of Bollywood, I think would have been fantastic. I mean, Netflix, thank God they got it. I mean, it was accessible to everyone, but they need to, like, I think they have an opportunity here to serve, Well,
it comes down or boils down to the fact, that it's the numbers which most of the producers or directors look at.
Yeah, for sure.
If your movie is successful, they have the confidence to make something else as well. Right. And here I will go back to one of the recent examples, Rohit Shetty. Not recent, actually, he's been around for a while. His movies, I mean, people normally call him the modern day Manmohan Desai. And this is what Manmohan Desai used to do. His movies like Amar Akbar Anthony, Suhag, Roti, Mard, Ganga Jamuna Saraswati, all those, they were all mass movie productions, and the entertainment was the only source thing in there. I mean, that's what the emphasis was always on. Amitabh Bachchan being the regular feature, and of course the music being good, whether it was of Lakshmikant Pyarelal or Kalyanji Anandji. Those were the factors, which made the movie successful.
Solomon
and this
concert.
is exactly what, this is exactly what Rohit Shetty is doing.
Yeah.
Rohit Shetty is producing mass movies, and those are all called mass entertainers. And if you look at his record, this is one guy who has scored more than 2 billion at the box office, and each and every movie of his has been a huge hit.
Wow.
Whether it is with Ajay Devgan, or it is with Ranveer Singh, or lately with Akshay Kumar. Is incredible. With this Suryavanshi, he waited for almost 2 years to release it in theaters, and he has brought back the general audiences to the cinema hall, because people were afraid, especially with this OTT. People were so used to that. Oh, why go to the theaters when we are watching the movies on our own screens, and we can pick up any. True. But you do not get the same feel like watching James Bond today in theater or on television. It's 100%. A total different ball game. Those mass entertainers have to be enjoyed on big screen. So he brought the audiences back. And then this week, some more movies are releasing. Yash Chopra took the cue, and now they are releasing their movies. And then next week, there will be 2 other big ones, which are releasing, John Abraham and Salman Khan. So my point is, the producers obviously have to look if the movies are entertaining and if they are filling the box office.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go
with one
game,
like you said.
Example, Punjabi film Hausla Rakh. It has become the biggest Punjabi box office hit in the history. I mean, nobody, in the history.
Wow,
no Punjabi film has made so much money outside of India than Hausla Rakh. Now, what does it tell you? It tells you that more movies can be made, more talent can be used, more of Vancouver could be shown to the rest of the world, and they will be much more appreciative of this fact, that these movies are being made today, in these days, and they are being appreciated by you.
I agree.
I agree that, yes, there is much more to be done. However, with the limited resources, people are doing or trying to do their utmost in making entertaining movies, which would be also hits at the box office. Like Ayushmann Khurrana, most of his movies are small budget films, and yet all of his movies have been doing excellent wonders at the box office, be it Andhadhun, be it Badhai Ho, and now his latest one, Chandigarh Kare Ashiki, is an incredible theme. You'll be shocked if I tell you what this movie is about.
Well, I got my boy Jesse singing in there, Jesse Sidhu. He's got the Chandigarh Kare Ashiki.
Exactly. But besides that, this is the first movie which has tackled the subject of a man falling in love with a transgender.
No way.
Yes. Can you?
Because you saw a little bit of that in Sacred Games. But again, that was Netflix, right? But
exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Now this is on screen on theaters coming up.
Oh, do you think the world's ready? Do you think the world is ready?
Well, I think they will make sure that it's ready, because let's not forget, long time back, Shuji Sarkar had made with Ayushmann Khurrana a movie called Vicky Donor, and that was about sperms.
Yeah, correct.
Selling your sperms, and that was a huge hit. So if that could be a hit, this could be a hit as well, But
hey, it's 2021.
Things like,
power, 2021. Power to them.
So they're tackling different subjects which are of importance and relevant to the modern day age, and also would be of much more interest to the youngsters who would say, yes, they are also talking about things, which we want to know about.
Well, this would be a good litmus test, this film.
Yes.
Once it comes out.
It sure will be. Yes.
Well, that's great. I mean, we can go on for ages, Kamal, but I want to talk about your career in general now. This is really for you to reflect on, the many years of service that you've done. I obviously come from the outside in, see it different than you do. It's, for me, it's, just our conversations very overwhelming, because it brings back joy and it brings back memories, stuff that, I've forgotten about. But like, as you think to yourself, like, are you happy with what you've been able to accomplish? Is there is it only like a small bit? Do you have a lot to do? Like, are you done? Do you want to retire and be like, you know what, I've done enough? Like, where are you at right now in your stage? And kind of like, because I know you got your KVP entertainers. Now I know you're working on the heritage stuff. That's, that's your passion or whatever it is. But I'm just talking overall, like, because some people are like, both ho gaya, I'm tired now. I've done
Yeah.
so much. Like, where are you at right now today?
Well, I tell you, I've been very, very lucky in doing what I love to do. And also because of the fact, the people appreciated it. And not only they appreciated it, they rewarded me in every way possible, and I'm quite thankful to each and everyone who has been with me in this wonderful journey. However, I'm not done yet because I still have a
Good
lot
to
to
hear.
go. Why I would say, I still remember uh, I used to get this young girl coming into my store, and I was quite impressed by her, a beautiful girl. And one day her dad said to me, well, she's a very good dancer. I said, oh, really? Okay. And I did see a video of her dancing, and I was quite impressed. Now, guess what? I found out that Devanand was coming. And I was the MC in that particular function where Shushmaji was with me as well. And I remembered that girl, I said, why don't we ask this girl to do a dance? And if Devanand is coming, he may have been here for some scouting, maybe he's looking for some new faces for his upcoming films,
Yeah.
And it turned out to be true, she danced to this wonderful song, Ho Tope Aisi Baat, which is from the movie Guide of Devanand. And he was so impressed, he called her over next day. She went in, and she was selected. And who is this girl? Neeru Bajwa. Where is she today? She's the #1 actress in Punjabi films, who also did very many
That's
Hindi
a wild
films
story.
and also a lot of television serials.
Yeah.
So when you see something of this kind happening, you feel proud. Harbhajan Maan used to come to my store and he would sing songs to me. And he said, Paji, listen to this and tell me how does it sound. And I said, okay. And he was obviously good, and I'll say, yeah, it's pretty good, And Harbhajan Maan, where did he go? I mean, he became one of the most popular singing star of Punjabi films.
Out of Vancouver.
Yeah, and this was in my store in early 90s when these three brothers came in, and they started looking at some of the classical videos, and I said, gee, these guys look different. And they said, Paji, we were at the Swai Gandhav Music Festival and this and that. And I said, holy cow, these guys are talented. And that is when I suggested them, why don't you approach someone and take out a cassette? They approached Maninder Gill of Raja Entertainers. And these guys had their first cassette, which became a hit. And after that, they are the biggest sensation. And I'm talking about Manmohan Waris, Kamal Sharma, and Santar.
Yeah,
and
I worked with him in the studio too. Yeah,
exactly. So like that, Jaggi, I had been seeing him. I had been giving him chances at Diwali function or other functions.
Yeah.
And then I found out that he was chosen for Saregama, and he went there and he became the finalist, became the household name all over the world, and gave name to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It was a huge, good feeling, And this fellow, of course, is today a name to be recognized. And similarly, Shasha, what shall I say? Again, she was young girl, came up to me one day and sang a song. And I said, gee, you should be on my TV show. And she was. And then, of course, the other program. And Shasha Tirupati sang her heart out, won the National Best Singer Award in India. And today she is the favorite singer of A.R. Rahman. Similarly, Shivangi Bhayana, another one who went from nowhere, started writing lyrics, started writing the dialogues in movies, and today she's a singer and a composer. So those are the ones, which give you the joy and also tells you that keep going, because you still have to find a lot more talent in our community, and all those will be making us proud one day, not just Vancouver, not just Canada, but also somewhere you too.
That's amazing. Wow. Wow, Kamal Aish. Paji, this was one epic conversation, something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I really,
thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm going to say this with pure love and, pure honesty, despite what anybody else thinks. Like in my view, you're always going to be a Hall of Famer to me. So thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you.
for all that you've done. People want to get a hold of you or reach out to you, because I'm sure someone will watch this and be inspired. What's the best way to get a hold of them? And I'll leave links in the description.
Yeah, they can always email me, kvp_kamal@msn.com.
Okay.
They can always watch my Facebook page, KVP Entertainers,
Okay.
and also KVP Heritage. They can send me requests. They can also check my YouTube channel,
Okay.
which is of KVP Entertainers. And they can call me anytime, 604-833-1977.
Yep.
I always respond, so no worries. And yeah, passion is there, and it will carry on as long as I'm alive.
Wow. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming today. Guys, you witnessed history right here. Honestly, it doesn't get better than this. It does not get better than this. I don't even know how I'm going to top this on another interview. Honestly, to be honest with you, it's done. It's done. But thank you once again, Baji, for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aman, for having me.
Oh, it was an honor.
Yeah.
Honor was all mine. Guys, listen to this, watch this. You're going to learn lots, a lot of golden nuggets in here. And like I say every single week, man, in my show, on my podcast, never forget your roots. Always stay close to your culture. Until next time, folks, I'm boy DJ Reminisce. I'm out. Peace.
Bye.